All right, so today we're going to be working on chapter 6.2, which is graphing quadratics. Okay, so we're going to graph this equation, y equals bracket x minus 2 bracket squared plus 1. All right, so yesterday we went over some key features of the quadratic. I asked you what the vertex is, what the AOS is, which way it opens, the max or min, the stretch or shrink. Okay, so when we're graphing a quadratic, sometimes it's called a parabola, it's the same thing. When we graph a quadratic, the first thing we need to do, step number one, is to write down what the vertex is. All right, so the vertex is made out of two parts, an x value, which is the number inside the bracket, and a y value, which is the number outside the bracket. Okay, so my vertex for this question is going to be positive 2. So remember, the x value is the opposite sign. So in my bracket, I have negative 2. But when I write out the vertex, it's going to be positive 2. And then my y value is going to be positive 1. All right, so that's where these two numbers are coming from. Okay, so that's step one, to write the vertex out. Okay, remember, this is a coordinate system. This is an x value, this is the y value, and that's just a dot on the graph. The next step is to find out which way it opens. Okay, so to see where this graph opens, I look after the equal sign. If I see nothing after the equal sign, it opens up, okay, because it's positive. So this up and down is kind of important. It's kind of what I need to know. All right. So if I look at my graph, which is the third step, I'm going to plot my vertex. Okay, so if I look at my graph, this is positive 1. This is positive 2 for x, which is what I want. And then for y, it's positive 1. So I'm going up. All right, so on my graph, I'm going to put a dot where the vertex is. All right, so step 3 is just to plot the vertex. Remember, always do x first, and then do y, and then see where those two lines kind of meet. And that's how I find the first dot. From there, it's just counting. We're counting steps. All right, so step 1, I'm going to go 1 over and 1 up from the vertex. Okay, so I'm going to go 1 over and 1 up from the vertex. And that's going to give me my second dot. I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. Okay, I'm going to go 1 over and 1 up from the vertex. Okay, so I'm going to go 1 over here, and then I'm going to go 1 up. Okay, so to graph my vertex, to graph my parabola or my quadratic, I'm going to need 5 dots. Right now I have 3. Okay, so the first one is from the vertex, and then the second and third dot is from 1 over, 1 up. Okay, and that's this kind of step process. That's what you do to graph a parabola. Okay, step 3, I'm going to go 2 over, and I'm going to go 4 up this time from the vertex. Okay, so I'm going to put the arrows in green this time. I'm going to go 2 over. So now I'm on this line, and I'm going to go 4 up. Okay, when you're graphing your parabolas, you don't need to draw all these arrows that I'm drawing. You don't need to write all these steps in red here that I did on the bottom right. All right, you just kind of count from the vertex. Okay, and then the last step, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to go 2 over and 4 up from the vertex, but this time I'm going to the other side. Okay, and you're going to notice that a parabola is just kind of a shape of a U. All right, so this is where my other dot's going to be. All right, from here, all I'm going to do is connect the dots. But when I connect the dots, I don't want to connect the dots with straight lines. All right, so let's say my graph looks like this down here. Okay, let's say my graph is down here. I'm not going to draw the letter V. That's not what I want. All right, this is not how a parabola looks. A parabola looks like a curve, like a shape of a U. Okay, so I'm going to go past, oops, undo that. Oh no, undo button's gone. All right, so I'm just going to try to draw a curved line that goes through all 5 dots as best as I can. That is how you draw a parabola. Is everybody okay with what I just did? All right, and that's a parabola. A parabola always has a shape of a U or an N. Okay, so this question is the shape of a U. I'm going to do 2 more examples and hopefully you understand it after that. All right, so let's scroll up to the second example. Okay, again, this is being taped. You can always just go back and watch the video again. All right, so step 1 is to write the vertex. Okay, so this question is y equals x plus 3 squared minus 4. Okay, so the vertex all right, is going to be a number inside the bracket and a number outside the bracket. So if you get the vertex wrong, the whole question is going to be wrong. Okay, so please get the vertex correct. I have a positive 3 inside the bracket. So when I write the vertex out, it's going to be a negative 3. And then the number outside the bracket stays the same. It's just going to be negative 4. Okay, again, this is the x. This is the y. Okay, so now I need to find out step 2, which is which way does the graph open? If I look after the equal sign, it still opens up. Step 3 is to plot the vertex. Okay, so on my graph, I'm going to go negative 3, negative 1, negative 2, negative 3 is over here for the x. The y is negative 4, so it's negative 1. Negative 2, negative 3, negative 4. Okay, and where those 2 lines meet, which is right here, is my vertex. So I'm going to do a dot where my vertex is. All right. So that is step 3. So step 1, find the vertex. Step 2, write which way it opens. Step 3, plot the dot. From there, I'm just going to do the same steps as I did up here. All right, I'm gonna take all this and I'm kind of gonna follow these steps. Okay, so step 1, I'm gonna go 1 over and 1 up, and it doesn't matter if you want to go to the right first or to the left first. It's up to you. All right, so I'm gonna go 1 over from the vertex, which kind of puts me over here, and I'm gonna go 1 up, and I'm gonna put a dot there. I'm going to do the same thing on the left side this time. Okay, so the first side, the first way I went was the right. Now I'm going to the left. I'm going to go 1 over, 1 up. Okay, I'm going to step 6. This time I'm going to go 2 over. Okay, I'm going to write it out I'm going to show you guys. So I'm going to go 1, 2, which brings me to this spot here. And I'm going to go 4 up. 1, 2, 3, 4. And if you want to draw the arrows, you can. All right. And you're going to do the same thing on the other side. You're going to go 1, 2 over to the left, and I'm going to go 4 up. Okay, once I have that done, I'm just going to draw my best curve through all the dots. Okay, and if you want, you can draw arrows once you pass the dots, like so. All right, so notice that again, it's in the shape of a U this time. Same as the first question, it's the shape of a U. All right, is everybody okay with the first two examples? Again, you can always come back and watch this video if you're lost. Okay, let's try the third example. You're going to notice the steps are going to be very similar. Step one, write out what the vertex is. The vertex consists of the number inside the bracket and a number outside the bracket. So in this case, it's going to be +3 because it's the opposite sign, and +2. And in this graph, you're going to notice there's a negative sign after the equal sign. Okay, so when there's a negative after the equal sign, it opens down. All right, now I'm going to plot the vertex. So +1, +2, +3. My y values is 1 and 2. Where those two lines meet is my vertex, which is right here. So +3 for x and -2 for y. All right, now the previous two questions, we went 1 over 1 up, 1 over 1 up. Then we went 2 over 4 up and 2 over 4 up. Okay, and that's because those two opened up. So if you look at which way it opens for question 1A, it opens up. For 1B, it opens up. But in this question, the graph opens down. All right, so we kind of almost do the same thing. Instead of going 1 over 1 up, because this graph opens down, I'm just going to go 1 over 1 down. Do the same thing on the other side. I'm going to go 1 over, 1 down. Okay, because this graph opens down. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to go 2 over. Okay, and I'll show it with green arrows. 1, 2. And I'm going to go 4 down. So now my dot's going to be way down here. I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. I'm going to go 2 over and 4 down. Okay, so now I'm just going to connect my dots as best as I can. And that is my parabola.